Very nice to see you again. I hope everybody had a happy and healthy Chuseok. I was away all September, so I missed Chuseok, but I'm sure you were all busy with your families. Now it's autumn in Korea, very lovely time. Weather's more comfortable. I hope your hearts are comfortable. If not, I tell you a story, okay? Today I want to tell you about a very famous Tibetan practitioner. His name was Milarepa. Maybe you heard about him. He was a lay person, never became a sanim, I believe. Never became a sanim. But he is considered a saint in Tibetan Buddhism.
근데
Great person. And he lived about 800 years ago. When he was a young man, his father was a very a good family and a wealthy man. He had lots of land and a nice house. His father died when Milarepa was still a young boy. So all the lands and the house and all the wealth of his father was to be given to his son, Milarepa. But because he was such a young boy, the lands and the house, everything was put in the care of his uncle and his aunt. Then the uncle and the aunt moved into the house with Milarepa, his mother, and his sister. But this uncle and aunt were really kind of evil people. And they treated the mother, the sister, and Milarepa like they were servants in their own house. And this went on for quite a number of years. And no matter how much the mother, Milarepa's mother, complained, she had none of the three of them had any control over the situation. When Milarepa became a teenager, his mother sent him up in the mountains to practice with a magic man, a man who had magic power. So Milarepa left home. Maybe in our time, he would just be a junghaksang. But Milarepa had some special ability, and within just a couple years, he had attained some great magic power. Then the uncle and aunt were hosting the wedding for one of their children. And the uncle and aunt invited many guests to their child's wedding and used all of Milarepa's and his family's wealth and land and crops and everything for their own benefit. Then Milarepa's mother went up into the mountains to find him and told him, "You must get revenge on our uncle and aunt for what they have done to us and to your father's name." Then during the wedding party, which was taking place inside the house, Milarepa, using his magic, caused the entire house to collapse. Then everyone died except Milarepa's mother, sister, and his aunt and uncle. Then the aunt and uncle were so angry they drove Milarepa's mother and sister off the property. They had to live homeless. The whole village turned against them. So his mother went up into the mountains, found him, and said, "You must get revenge on this whole town for what they have done to our family." Then just before harvest time, Milarepa caused a hailstorm to come and destroyed all the crops. A pretty strong story so far, yeah? And Milarepa did worse things probably than any of us have done. Maybe worse. But it gets better. So the village people were so angry at Milarepa, they went in the mountains and he had to run away. As Milarepa began to reflect on what he'd done, he felt great sadness for all the suffering he'd created. Then he became very afraid of what will happen to him in the future because of the bad actions he did against all these people, even though the aunt and uncle had been so bad to them. That time he realized that his magic teacher couldn't teach him anything to take care of the karma he had created. So he went to find a great Buddhist master to help him. That time, one of the greatest masters in Tibet was named Marpa. Marpa was a layman who was married and had children, but he was famous for traveling to India and studying with a great master in the line from Buddha named Naropa. He attained Naropa's teaching, and then Naropa sent him back to Tibet to help develop Buddhism there. So Marpa returned to Tibet with many, many sutras. He had them translated into Tibetan, and he himself was considered a great master, not a scholar, but a master. So Milarepa went to see him, bowed, and asked to become his student. Then Marpa said, I will accept you to live here, but you are not capable of understanding Dharma, so you will work. If you work well for me, then in the future I will teach you Dharma. So Milarepa was like a ajoshi in his household, a worker guy. And Marpa gave him many physical tasks, collecting wood, working in the kitchen, cleaning, many things like that. After some time, Milarepa went to Marpa and said, please, can you give me teaching now? And Marpa only said, come with me. And he took him out, and at one spot on his land, Marpa told him, you build me a 3-story tower out of stone at this circular tower at this spot, and then come tell me when you're finished. So Marpa worked very hard by himself and designed the tower and went and found the stones, and it took him quite a long time, carried the stones by himself, and he built this 3-story circular tower. When he was finished, he went and got Marpa. I've completed the task. Please come look. When Marpa saw it, he started yelling at Milarepa. I didn't tell you to build it here. I said build it over there. Then Milarepa said, no, you told me to build it here. I did not. Are you calling me a liar? Take it apart and return all the stones where you got them. Then Milarepa was very unhappy, but he did it. Then after he finished all that work, he came to see Marpa. When Marpa went out there and looked, he started yelling at Milarepa again. Then Marpa shouted at him, what did you do? Why did you return the stones to where you found them? Then Marpa shouted to him. Milarepa said, no, you told me to do that. Are you calling me a liar? Said Marpa. I told you to build a circular tower over here. Then Marpa left. Of course, Milarepa thought, maybe this guy's crazy. He tells me something and then he tells me he didn't tell me. Soon he put it down and went and did it. Then when he was finished building the 3-story tower, he went to get Marpa. When Marpa saw it, he started yelling again. I told you to build a square tower, not a round tower. No, you didn't. You told me round. If you call me a liar, then just go. Then Milarepa, no, I will do it. I will do it. Then as he started to take it apart and build it again, his body was so sore, his mind was so depressed. He went to Marpa's wife. What can I do? What can I do? He keeps changing everything he says. Then Marpa's wife told him, why don't you go to Marpa, bow, and plead with him to teach you Dharma? Then Marpa said, why teach you Dharma? You don't listen to my instructions. Either build that tower or leave. So Milarepa returned to the work site and continued working. Then every day, Marpa's wife would visit him with some food and cream for his sores. And Milarepa confided to her that he just felt like killing himself. After some time, Marpa's wife went to Marpa. And bowing to Marpa, she said, this is a good man, a good student, Milarepa. Why do you treat him like that? Why, like this? Why won't you teach him Dharma? He's a good vessel for Dharma. So finally, Marpa relented and went out to see Milarepa. Then he told Milarepa, now you come for teaching. Then Milarepa came back in the house and Marpa began to teach him Dharma. And he told his wife, you take care of him with food and medicines, okay? Milarepa advanced very quickly in his understanding of Dharma and his meditation practice. And after some time, Marpa told him, "You are a true carrier of Dharma. You are my true son." After some time, he called Milarepa and said, "Now you have learned all I can teach you here. You are ready for practicing on your own. You must go into the mountains to this cave, and this cave, and practice alone there, finding your own food. You must stay in the mountains for 12 years. During that time, a problem will appear in your practice." And Marpa told him what kind of problem. Then he gave Marpa a sealed letter and said, "I have prepared instructions for you to open at that time. Don't open it before then, but it will help you at that time." Then Marpa said, "When you leave soon on this journey, we will not meet again this lifetime." Then, with both of them crying, Marpa turned to his wife and said, "Prepare food for his journey, and we will say goodbye." So when Milarepa was ready to go, Marpa went out with him, said goodbye, and Milarepa was off on his own. And they never met again after that. Now, there's many stories that come from the 12 years that Milarepa practiced alone in the caves in Tibet. But I want to tell you a story that happened later in his life. And I needed to tell you his life story to that point so you can appreciate any story that comes after. After 12 years, Milarepa realized he was ready to come down and share Dharma with the people. And he returned to society and became one of the greatest teachers in Tibetan Buddhism. Now, the particular story I want to tell you today happened late in his life when he was an old man and already had many, many students. He taught monks and nuns, laymen, laywomen freely, like us here, his whole life. When he was old and many of his students were gathered around him, one day, one of them asked him a very interesting question. One student asked him, "Teacher, who are you the reincarnation of? Who were you in a previous life?" You all know that Tibetan Buddhism has that kind of reincarnation thing. They talk about it quite a lot. Most of Mahayana Buddhism, Dae Bong, doesn't talk about that so much. And Zen, Sunbogyo, almost never. Only now, very important. How do you keep your mind right now? Very important. One time I went to see the movie Little Buddha, the Hollywood movie with Zen Master Seung San in New York. We saw it in New York City. It's about this famous Tibetan monk who died while teaching in America, and they're trying to find his reincarnation, which child is his reincarnation. And they found 3 children they took to Nepal to test. Yeah, one American boy and one Nepali boy and one girl from India. And very young, they brought them all to Nepal to test. And I'll tell you the end. In the end, they decide all 3 of them are the reincarnation. Then after the movie, we always ask Zen Master Seung San, "What do you think of that movie?" Then he said, "Tibetan Buddhism always talk about reincarnation, but Buddha's teaching is originally no life, no death. How you keep your mind just now, very important." Also, he said, if they say these 3 is reincarnation, they must show these 3 do something good for other people. So it's always interesting to go to any kind of movie with Zen Master Seung San because he always sees in it some point that, very, very strong, clear Sambogyo point. Anyway, Milarepa's student asked him, "You're such a great teacher. Who are you the reincarnation of?" I love Milarepa. Because Milarepa says, "I don't know. Nobody ever told me." He said, for all I know, I must come from the three evil realms, animal or hungry ghost or hell realm, because of the very evil things I did as a young man. Then his student said to him, how's that possible? We get such great benefit from being together with you. Then Milarepa said, the benefit you get from being with me does not come from me. It comes from your faith mind. By your faith mind, you yourself create your benefit. But that also means your devotion to me means it's wonderful, but it means you don't really understand the most important points of Buddha's teaching. Cause and effect and emptiness of all phenomena. When I went to see my then Milarepa continued, when I went to see my teacher, I didn't have an understanding or experience of the emptiness of all things. But I believed in the fact of cause and effect. Our good actions bring good results, and our bad actions bring bad results. We will one day get the result of our actions. Soon, later, or next life. I was so scared and worried about the results of my bad actions that I listened and followed my teacher. And I put his instructions into practice. And through my practice, I realized the nature of emptiness. This is here, but it's impermanent. It has no self-nature of its own. This is the nature of emptiness. Then, if we attain that, then we are not even hindered by this, by any appearance. We experience our karma, but we're not controlled by it. We're able to use it with compassion and wisdom for the benefit of all beings. That comes from attaining cause and effect and attaining emptiness. So that's what I wanted to tell you today. Monggong, great Zen Master Monggong said there are 4 things necessary to practice. Bul, Bop, Sung, and a place. Teacher, teachings, Dharma friends, and a place to practice. I am so grateful to meet Korean Buddhism and Musangsa and Buddhism that make those 4 things available. And Musangsa was such a great teacher, he was able to go places that didn't have those and create them with his students. You all are lucky. You were born in a country that has them. And we have them right here at Musangsa. And for us living here, you're as important a part of that as anything. You're Sangha. And if we attain this teaching well, then we can see the whole world as our Sangha. And everyone in this universe as our Dharma friend, even those we consider our enemies. The name for that is Mu-A, no hindrance. So now we have this continuing pandemic, but Korea, a country and people doing really well. I come from America in birth. He comes from Russia. He comes from Malaysia. You come from Korea. This one comes from nobody knows where she comes from. 통역 봉사 어디 왔습니까? No idea. 통역 교수님.
네.
She comes from this, so no problem.
감사합니다.
But in America, I read now 70만 명 돌아갔어요 from COVID. America is 7 times bigger population than Korea. If Korea, COVID, and America, the sickness spread is the same, if it's the same, then Korea should have 10만 명 dead. But Korea, 2,600 사람 돌아가세요. Yeah, each one is a great sadness for many people, but so many less. That means Korean society working together much, 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 much better than America. I wrote my friends that. Why? Why is it like that? Very easy why. Mask, testing and tracking, and vaccine. Everybody try together. Everybody knows inside America, big problem with not just COVID, everything. Actually, before Sungsan S님 died, one day he looked at me and said, America break apart.
Oh.
Then he pointed to himself and he said, not my lifetime. Then he pointed at me with a smile. He said, your lifetime. So our teachings only go straight, don't know. So don't know. Maybe happen, maybe not happen. One day, not so long ago, I thought, maybe he said that to me. Maybe it's not even true, but he wants me to stay in Korea. I don't know. Only don't know is best way. So I hope, you, even pandemic, you come here on a Sunday. That's so wonderful. And even though many people cannot come regularly inside the temple, we still keep the same practice and take care of the temple and hope one day when you come, we can eat lunch together and do many things together without mask. Yeah, one day. Nowadays, I got the feeling that everybody is very beautiful and handsome, even with masks. I can see your eyes. That's many stories already talking in the eyes. Maybe one day we take off the masks, then you don't want to come here. You look at the Sinims. Oh, they ugly. I thought before it's okay. They ugly. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Mask, no mask. Wonderful to see you. And let's continue to make a great use of Buddha's teaching into our everyday life. Then that will benefit. Yeah, say that, and then I say more. That will benefit you, your family and friends, the community, the country, and all beings. So as our Sungsan Kun스님 always said, 오직 하뿐! 성공하십시오. 감사합니다.
공부하십시오.